All right, I want to welcome you guys back to the, how do we say this? This is the RockStar Real Estate Roadmap podcast. I'm still learning how to say that really fast. Anyway, I think it's really cool. But my name is Rick Reynes. I'm your host. I have been a real estate agent for 22 years. I am the founder of the Texas RockStar Group right here in the Woodlands, Texas. And I'm the guy that's going to help you build a real estate career that doesn't just pay the bills. I want you to build a legacy. So if you're new here, I want to tell you that you're welcome. We're going to walk through 6 stages of what I call the RockStar Real Estate Roadmap. Right now, we are in stage 2, which I like to call the first set. That's where you already have your license. You've got a little bit of momentum, and now it's time to actually get on stage and perform. So we talked about building your schedule in episode 6. We laid out the 3-pillar prospecting system in episode 7. And I told you at the end of the last episode that we were going to come back and talk about the one thing that I believe trips up nearly every brand new agent, and it's these words: scripts. So today's episode is all about scripts and dialogues. It's what to say, how to say it, when to say it, how to ask for the business without feeling like you're standing on a street corner with a cardboard sign. So we want to get into this pretty aggressively. So anyway, segment 1, this is what we're going to call the real reason why real estate agents don't make phone calls. And I think this is something that happens all the time. So let me ask you something here. So you sit down, you've got a list, you've got your time blocked, and you are ready to go. You got coffee in your hand. You sit down to make the calls, and then nothing happens. Why is that? Does this sound familiar? I'm sure it's probably happened to you many times during the course of your career if you've been in the business for a while. But for the brand new agent, this is something that just kind of there's a brain fart that happens. And I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of agents over the years, and everybody from brand new ones that have joined our teams to other agents that I've coached through coaching with Club Wealth. Agents that I've known who have been in business for a long time, and I will tell you, there's a lot of agents that are been in business for a while and they're barely getting by, and almost every single one of them says the same thing when I ask why they don't prospect consistently, and they all say, "Rick, I just don't know what to say." And look, that's actually a fair response, because nobody hands people a manual. Your broker probably gave you a quick orientation over it once they bring you on board. Here's a couple of pages of some scripts, and they pointed to you some software or some type of a training that you kind of take a look at. Most brokers never have role play or anything like that that'll help you with creating that level of confidence. And I promise you, it wasn't talked about when you were going through the classes to get your license. So they're not going to do that. They're going to keep you out of, I'll call it legal trouble, but they're not going to tell you how to make phone calls and how to communicate with people. And people ask me all the time, is that a gift that people have? You say, "Oh, I've got the gift of gab," but when they actually get in front of opportunities, they get quiet. They don't really, the gabbers really don't know what to say, because now they're stuck and they don't know what to say and how to say it. So the calls don't get made, and your time block ends up becoming empty, and we wonder why our pipelines are dry. But here's what I want you to hear through all this, and I don't want you to be afraid of the phone, because you're not afraid of knowing what comes out of your mouth when someone picks up. That's a training problem. It's not necessarily a confidence problem. And the training problems, and they have solutions. And so this is kind of what we're going to talk about. Now, before I give you the actual words to use in your scripts, I want to clear up something, because I know that some of you just tense up when I said we're going to talk about scripts, and I don't want to sound like a robot. I get it. I really do. And if the goal was to have you read word for word off a laminated card like you're a telemarketer extending or selling extended warranties, I don't want you to feel that way, because that really doesn't work. It sounds like you're reading from a card, and it feels bad for you. And when you're reading off of a card, people can generally hear that, and they get it, they feel it, they know, oh, well, this person's just reading me a script, because typically when you get into it, you don't stop, and they can't say excuse me or whatever, so you just kind of keep on going. But there is a big difference in what we're going to talk about between sounding scripted and actually being prepared to answer questions. And I think there's a couple of things that you've got to do. Time and effort and business will cure a lot of the confidence problems. But I want you to think about it this way. When our whole goal about when we talk about the RockStar Roadmap and we've got all these stages in place, think about it from a musician's perspective. You've got, it doesn't matter if you play guitar, you're a piano, or you're a singer. Anyway, most of those people have practiced thousands and thousands of times. I think about guys like Eddie Van Halen and some of the Eric Claptons and some of the traditional guitar guys. They didn't just pick up a guitar and instantly know how to hit every chord and every note, or the singers aren't singing every lyric. But what they know is time heals and creates confidence. So when they get on stage, just like you're getting on a phone call or you're getting in front of somebody, when you've done it thousands of times, it won't sound rehearsed. And so when you're there, it sounds natural. It sounds like you know what you're talking about. And the thing is it sounds real and it sounds authentic. And that's because the preparation is what frees you to actually be connected to the client. And so when we talk about scripts, if you were to read a book 100 times, you're probably going to know the details of a book. And so you're going to know the characters, you're going to know the situations, you're going to know the processes that the characters go through in the course of the book. Same thing here. When you read a script multiple times, it's going to kind of be embedded in your brain. It's going to be kind of embedded in this kind of conversations. And then when you say it out loud, it makes it that much better. So I would say to a lot of people, put a camera on, just read through the scripts with the camera, see how you're doing when you're actually reading it. And while you're doing it, see if your tone, how that reacts towards a lot of things. So I don't want you to think about the goal of a script is to sound absolutely perfect, because I think authentic real estate agents, they're not perfect. They'll sound like they know what they're saying because it's been repetitive, but they're not perfect. And I don't want you to ever feel like you're reciting a script that you've read 1,000 times. I just want you to feel comfortable with knowing what the script means and knowing what the script is sharing and what the scripts are diving into the questions that you're trying to get your client or potential client to respond to. So anyway, the goal is not to sound like everybody else. You want to be prepared so that you can show up in the conversation with your personality. You want your energy in the way that you talk to somebody to come out in the way you're asking the questions, in the way that you're possibly sharing some ideas. And so I want you to think about the role that you're playing. You're playing the consultant. You're playing the role of the agent. So think about it from that perspective. I was probably about, 3 or 4 years into the industry when I actually was at a real estate conference, and obviously I was very much terrified of scripts, and I didn't want to sound like a robot, and I didn't want to sound like I was just reading something off of a piece of paper. But a really, really good coach told me at one point in time, and this is when I was with Keller Williams, and I was in the MAPS program, and he said, I want you to think about the opportunity to drive a Ford. And I'm like, well, I already drive a Ford, so where are you getting at? And he said, drive a Ford with every single conversation. And I want you to think about it from family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. And while I was at this convention with Keller Williams, and this guy's telling me that, I'm thinking, okay, well, I drive a Ford. I had a Ford truck at the time, and I've driven Fords most of my whole life, and that seemed like an easy process to me. So if you want to think about it from this perspective, it's really cool to know that you can have a raw conversation and a real conversation by talking about their family, talking about their occupation, talking about their recreation, and talking about their dreams. So when I learned the Ford technique, and we're gonna go down through all of the 4 things, because this thing changed everything on how I connected with people, not only in my sphere of influence, but with people that I didn't know. But when we're brand new or we're going through periods of time where we feel like we're not connecting in the real estate world, I promise you, if you call anybody and you go through the Ford topics, I promise you that you're going to have an outstanding conversation with that individual. Remember, Ford stands for Family, Occupation, Recreation, and Dreams. These are 4 extremely popular topics that every single person in your sphere that they care deeply about. And when you lead with these types of topics, and I'm talking about from a genuine perspective, not as a script trick, the conversations will open up because people love sharing when they feel heard. And when they trust you, they're going to share more with you. And this is where this works out pretty cool. So I want to walk through all 4 with you. And the first one is family. You know, think about when people come up to you, they say, how's the family? They say, how's this going on? What's going on in your world? You know, family is the fastest way to make someone feel like a person instead of a prospect. Let me repeat that. It's the fastest way to make someone feel like a person and not a prospect. And so most people, when you talk about their family, they're going to light up. The second you ask about their kids, you talk about their parents, you talk about their spouse. And here's the thing that most people don't understand is that you probably already know the stuff about the people. I just think that you need to ask the right questions about it. And it's something like this. You know, hey Mark, how's everything going? You know, I was just curious. You know, how are you and Jane doing? The last time we talked, you had mentioned that that Jane was starting a new job. How's that going? Hey, the last time we connected, you know, I remember you telling me a story about your son or your daughter. How's that going? And at this point in time, we're not selling anything. We're just trying to create a connection. And that connection is what makes everything else in the call feel natural, and it will follow suit. Because once you've talked about their family, then you're going to ask them about their job. You know, God knows how many hours people spend at work. And so when you're going to ask them about how things are going, this is a gold mine for discovering their business intelligence. You're going to find out about their job changes, their promotions, any particular new companies that might be trying to hire them, if they're going to be relocated in the next few years. All of these are the triggers that are hiding inside the conversation. So you want to try to bring that out. Hey, Mark, I still you're over at Exxon. I feel like things have been crazy in your industry lately. How are you guys navigating all of that? You know, here's a guy who works for a gas company, and there's all kinds of crazy going on about it. You know, he will tell you. But you got to listen here because there's the opportunity for them to leak out a potential job change or a promotion, or their commute's gotten too crazy and it's taken away from family time. And this is where you're going to, if you're paying attention, you're going to capture that opportunity. So family, occupation turns into the fun part. You know, what's going on in their hobbies? Are they traveling to sporting events? Do they have weekend plans that's going to put them in an RV? They're going to go to an event for their kids. They're traveling out of town. People love talking about this stuff. And at the end of the day, this creates the humanization of the conversation. This is where you're really going to barrel it down into just, hey, this is what my life is all about. It's what I enjoy. It's my biggest interest. Hobbies and recreation are probably the top over the occupation, obviously, but it all involves their family. And this is where you're going to really dig into the opportunities to find out where they might want to be closer to wherever it is that they want to do long term. And this kind of question, I think it will remind you, especially if you're paying attention, that they're going to share their biggest dreams with you in this too. So this goes to the fourth one. So when they're talking about the recreation, they're going to talk to you about their dreams. They're going to talk about, you know, someday soon, and we're going to want to retire. We're going to want to get over here. You know, someday soon, we're going to want to have another child. Someday soon, our child's going to leave the nest, and we're going to be looking for something smaller. Ford is a great way, fabulous way to find out and discover this, and it's an easy way to have that conversation. So even with new leads, actually, it's a great thing to do. Hey, tell me about your family. How many bedrooms you need? How many bathrooms you looking for? How much space you need in the backyard? So anyway, Ford is a wonderful thing to be able to go through. And I love driving Fords. But next up, I want to take a quick second and I want to talk about something that's been like coming up for me. And I think it's going to be a really cool way how real estate agents do business in their particular markets. And it's a way that I know my business will change here in the Woodlands. Excuse me. If you're not familiar with a new company called Living In. I think you're going to need to be, and I'm going to be talking about living in right here in the Woodlands, Texas, a lot over the course of the next several episodes, because living in is a new way to share with agents an old method of creating events and community partnerships with not only from the real estate agent, but with local business leaders. We're going to elevate community conversations. We're going to talk about all the great things that are going on here in the Woodlands. And so living in is to promote the agent, the community, and when people are looking for places to live and communities to live in, they're going to connect with that agent. And we're going to call that agent the mayor. And as agents, what we need to recognize is we're not just selling square footages. We're selling a lifestyle. We're selling a community and a neighborhood, and living in will give you the content to back that up. And it's the kind of a resource that I want to be able to send my clients to who are relocating to the Woodlands and they're still on the fence, or maybe they just want to understand a little bit more about what makes the Woodlands different from everywhere else. So I'll put on the link on the screen here. Check out Living in the Woodlands, Texas, and I think you're going to love the way that they've got it built out. And if you're an agent looking to potentially become the market mayor of your area, just send me a note and put mayor at the end of this podcast. Send me a note, direct message, and I'll send you all the details about it. So, all right. Next up, we're going to talk about how to handle objections without losing your footing, because we need to talk about what happens when the conversation doesn't go as smoothly as you think, because it won't always. And I want to give you 3 objections that you're going to hear the most. And these are the 3 objections that that I've had many, many times, and what I like to do with each one. And when we're talking with the client, we're at an open house, and they make the statement, we already have an agent. And this is the most common one, and it freaks a lot of people out, and it shouldn't. And here's why I'll say that. And it's because you have an opportunity to recognize their position with another agent. And you're also going to have an opportunity to possibly discover that they really don't. And what you're going to say is, man, I think that's wonderful. It sounds like you've got someone you trust, and that's honestly the most important thing to me. I never want to get in the way of a good relationship. I just say that if anything ever changes or they need something in a different area, I hope you'll keep me in mind. Hey, if you ever just want a second opinion on anything market related, I promise you, no obligation. I'm always happy to help out. So you're not necessarily trying to compete with the other agent. You're planting a seed for the long game. And that will usually open up some additional conversations, because you've just kind of said, look, I'm just, for second opinions. You've also told them that you love the fact that they're working with somebody else. And if they've got any other questions, please ask. Now they'll feel more comfortable to be able to go into the next step. And then you go into the forward opportunities. Some people will say that they're not ready yet. You go, you know what? Perfect. This is an opportunity for a future client, and your job right now is to make sure that they think of you when they are ready. So here's the response to we're not ready yet. You know what? That makes total sense. The timing's got to be right for you, but can I ask you a question? What's your rough timeline? Is it 6 months? Is it a year? Or is it even further out? And then you let them answer. And they're going to say, well, we're not really sure. We're possibly a year away. And you're going to say, you know what? That's good to know, because I don't want to be that agent that just calls you once and disappears. Would it be okay if I stayed in touch? I promise I won't bug you. Just some occasional market updates, maybe a check-in here or there. And when you're ready to have that real conversation, I want to be that first call that you make. So by saying things like that, you've asked for permission to follow up, and that's really the gold in all of that. The third one is we're just browsing and we're just not sure. And what I love about this is the just browsing is think about how many times you've walked into a clothing store and someone comes up, hey, can I help you find something? You go, no, I'm just browsing. It's just a pause for a little more time. And this is where you can come in and say, hey, listen, I completely understand. And honestly, browsing is the best time to start the conversation, because there's absolutely no pressure. And one of the things I love about doing is just sitting down with people before they're ready. I want to be able to talk you through whatever it is that you think you might want, what the market looks like, what's realistic. And while we're browsing, we're going to be able to discover the opportunities that may or may not become available for you when you're absolutely ready. So I want to be that guy that can help you kind of prepare yourself so that when the time becomes available. And what you're doing is you're basically allowing them to continue to browse and allow them to be more comfortable in asking questions during the course of the browsing period of time. Let them browse. You're going to watch what they're looking at. You're going to continue to say, hey, listen, I was out doing this or I was out doing that. I found something. Would this have some interest in you and with you? And they're going to be able to respond accordingly there. So, but one last thing we want to talk about in a conversation is how to ask for the business and the referral. And here's the part that I think is the most underrated skill in the industry is directly asking for what you want. And I don't want you to say things like, let me know if you think of anyone. I'm not a big fan of the, who do you know that needs to know more about selling real estate? Because, at the end of the day, I don't want you to feel like you're begging for business, but I want you to make people feel like you're giving them the opportunity to help somebody. And look at it from this way. If you ever had somebody say, hey, I'm looking for a good dentist, or I need an auto shop, or I need something, a good mechanic, you're super confident in saying, oh, let me make the connection. Here's my guy that can help you with all that. So think of yourself as the referral opportunity as, hey, look, I want to be the guy to help you. And I also want to be the guy to help your friends. And so if you don't mind, I'd love to ask you something. This is really important to me, and I hope it's important to you, but you can absolutely say no. But at the end of the day, if somebody were to come to you and ask you for a referral of a real estate agent, would you be so kind as to pass on my information? And they're going to tell you yes. They might tell you no, but more than likely they're going to tell you yes. And then you can say, if there's anybody that you know now, love to talk to them. But in the meantime, here's a couple of business cards. Would you mind passing those out? And you can come up with whatever kind of thing that you want, that you feel comfortable with. But be direct, be honest, and be human. I thrive on helping other people. I love helping people like you because that means I'm probably going to enjoy doing business with them as well. Your friends become my friends, and that's a great thing. And so somebody that you've never done business with, is just say, listen, I'd love the opportunity to earn your business. Love to kind of share some things about your past experiences with your previous sales, and I can learn a little bit more about how to make sure that your next experience exceeds your expectations. So I think that's an easy way to do that. So before I wrap this up, there's one more thing that I learned a while back, and that's called CARE. And that acronym is connect, acknowledge, be a resource, and extend the relationship. So connect, be a human. I think connections and relationships are going to be really, really important. Show you care when you're connecting with them. When you're having a conversation with somebody, acknowledge what they're telling you. Just say, man, that's great. Man, I love the fact your kids are doing well. I love that your job is doing well. Man, I'm really sorry things aren't going as well as they should. But you know what? I'm here whenever you're ready. No pressure. But be the resource for when somebody is ready. And no matter what, whenever you're having those calls, extend the conversation, whether it's a direct ask or whatever. Say, hey, listen, would it be okay if I follow up with you on X date? Hey, listen, I've got some cool things that we've got in place. I'd love to share those with you in the next couple of weeks. Would that be okay? Most people are going to they're going to lock in. They're going to say yes, and they're going to allow that. So practice, 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 because words matter. They matter in this business more than almost anything else, because when you're skilled in a conversation, your ability to convert increases dramatically. And conversation can be a skill, and it's something that you can work on every single day. Find role play partners, find people that are your friends that you can have these conversations with. And just remember that every call that you make is an opportunity for you to gain more confidence. Every conversation is practice. They may not know that, but you do. So the more practice, the more repetitions that you make, the opportunity for your experience increases dramatically. So I want you to stop waiting until you feel ready. You've got to get started right away. And so I've got a quick assignment for you until the next time. I want you to pick 5 people from your sphere of influence. I want you to guys go through the 4 technique, family, occupation, recreation, dreams, and try that framework called CARE. And you know what that is. It's connect, acknowledge, be a resource, and always extend the conversation. And when you do that, it's going to be amazing. So Anyway, if this episode's helped you and it's given you something that you're going to actually use, please share it, because there's other agents out there that need to learn how to drive a Ford. I promise you. Send it to another agent friend of yours who's been staring at their phone, wondering what to say. And by doing that, we're going to help somebody else build their business. So we'll be back next for episode 9, and we're going to get into something that I think is going to shift the way you think about your entire business. Get plugged in. Remember to hit subscribe. Keep building your business, and I'll get back with you soon. Remember, my name is Rick Granus, and this is the RockStar Real Estate Roadmap, and we are creating a ton of memories with a lot of mayhem. We're going to pass a lot of milestones. So anyway, have a great day, and remember, as always, let's prosper together. Take care.